Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is a singer-songwriter based in Raleigh, North Carolina, whose music has captured an international audience since the soul stylings of her debut album release, I Come Alive, in 2013. Please welcome Nicki Kris. Hello, Nicki.
Hey, Allie, how you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm so excited to be on your show, so thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you're on my show. Never mind. Thanks so much for coming on. Okay, so there is so much that you have done and so much that you are still doing, but let's go right back to the beginning. When did you decide this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
When I was two, no. No, I was really young. I had my first actual performance in front of people when I was 6.
Wow.
I sang in a kindergarten talent show, and I actually sang in German. I sang O Tannenbaum, and ever since that moment, I was hooked, I guess you would say.
Yeah, well, I get, and it's so funny. I hear that so many people start out so young, and it's because they've performed in front of somebody, and they loved the feeling, and that was it. That's what they knew they were going to do. So,
Yep.
did you do it all throughout school, and any instruments?
Yeah. So I did a lot of stuff in high school. Choir, all that fun stuff. I was in some, like all county things and stuff like that. I actually taught myself to play piano. I'm not very good, but I can tinker around. Never really had any official lessons with an instrument, but I did take voice lessons and things like that. I started writing in high school as well. Because that's when most of us go through our challenging years, our rebellious years, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I use songwriting, I say, as my instrument more than, a physical instrument,
Mm-hmm.
musical instrument. But yeah, I did a lot of that and then continued all through college and so on, and even after, and until, one day you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't paying the bills.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped for a while, but then really got back into it probably about 7 years ago.
Oh, thank goodness.
So now I'm like, yep, okay, I've done the day job thing. I'm done with that.
Now let's go back to singing. Well, I'm really glad you did because, man, can you sing? And I know in your bio it talks about your diva style voice, which you do have, and it's reminiscent of classic singers, not classical, like Dusty Springfield, Pat Benatar. I wanted to talk about that because I can hear Pat Benatar when I listen to you, and I am a huge fan of Pat Benatar. Yeah, so
I love her.
Yeah, she is amazing, and she still looks amazing. I'm like, what? How is that possible?
She looks and still sounds amazing. She is my all-time idol. Her and Stevie Nicks was who, I grew up on, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be the next Pat Benatar. And, to even out, because my producer tells me all the time, he's like, there's the Pat Benatar. And I'm just like, well, even being compared and put in the same category as her is, I'm like, yeah, you're just trying to make me feel good. Because I've seen her perform live, recently, and the power and the control that woman has in her voice, now in her 60s is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it was, when she was younger. But yeah, no, I love her.
Yeah, so do I.
I would be like a total groupie if I ever got to meet her.
Well, and that's so funny because you mentioned Stevie Nicks, and that's who I wanted to be when I grew up. But I can't sing.
Yes,
I can't sing at all. Yeah, exactly. We both of our idols. Now, let's talk about your songs. Your songs have been featured in award-winning movies. The indie short film Mother in 2015.
Yep.
And This Is Not Your Movie What is that? I didn't.
Yeah,
I
so, well, this is that movie was a, and that was actually my first film placement. I don't even know what she ended up doing with it, but yeah, that was like a student film. It was really weird too because I was just kind of getting back into stuff,
mm-hmm.
and I had this for film producer. She was in school, and she was like, I really love your music. Can I use one of your songs? And I was like, okay. Um, I didn't know anything then. But yeah, so that was really cool. But and then that kind of actually sparked a lot of stuff, with me with trying to get things in like film and TV and stuff like that. So the Mother film is that's the song "Picture Yourself," and that was interesting because I didn't sing the film version. The producer's sister did. So it was a little unique for me because it was a song that I had written that was in the film, but I didn't actually perform it. But I did release it as a single. And we've always talked about potentially if he were to ever do a full length film, that we would talk about me doing the full length film one. But it's cool. It's really neat to sit there and watch part of a film where that particular song was used as closing credits. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very, very powerful song about drug addiction, and ultimately the boy dies because of his addiction. And to have that song playing at the end it's just one of those surreal moments to just be like, oh my God, that's my song.
No
So
kidding.
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Now, you've also, your songs have also been in, okay, so off the bat, Major League Baseball Fan Cave in 2014. Now, we're going to talk about the song, because I'm going to talk about the other ones. Now, the song was Together We Stand. So it's been on that, it's been on The View, and it's also been on Dance Moms.
Yeah, so, and this again goes, back to actually the first song placement that I had. I've always been interested in getting, material into TV and film. Because to be honest, that's where a lot of the good money is
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, especially with streaming and the minuscule, not even a penny that they pay you per stream.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really funny because that was the one song out of the debut album that I was like, this is the hit song, and a couple people disagreed with me, yet it's been placed on, multiple TV shows. So it's, just goes to show you, everything is so subjective. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's actually, it's still to date, that is my highest hit song on like Spotify, Apple Music, everything. I mean, it's still one of the highest, or the highest song that I have in terms of like plays and things like that in stream. So that's actually really cool.
Wow, that is cool. Now, let's talk about Dance Moms, because that's not the only song that's been on Dance Moms. We've also had We Go On, Beautiful, I Come Alive. So, and that's been season 4, 5, and 7, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm actually really bummed that they canceled that show. Because I mean they've been very, very kind to me, and they do like depicting the artist, which is nice.
Mm.
So I've gotten a lot of exposure through them. So I am kind of bummed that the show is not on anymore. So I've been pushing for other TV placements and things like that. But yeah, I mean it's and what's interesting too is every single time they use one of my songs, they won.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know. It's like going, oh yeah, cool. So use another one of my songs so that you guys can win, and I'll just get more of my songs. But it's really weird because even now I still have people, because there's reruns and there's Amazon Prime and things like that. I still have people, even though it's been several years since the songs I've actually been on, that they'll reach out to me and like, oh my God, I heard this song the other day on Dance Moms and I love it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so weird. Yeah, it just goes to show you, once something actually gets out there and gets in front of people, how much of a long-term impact potentially it could have.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And well, on YouTube as well. Now, you're also on radio stations worldwide, and you've been on the official ballot for the Grammy Awards for the past 5 years. You placed in the categories Song of the Year, Best Pop Solo Performance, and Best Pop Album. That must have been like, wow. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Grammy time tends to be a little nuts. And I've learned so much about the whole entire process. I meet a ton of friends, just even being associated with the Recording Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird because I didn't want to get involved with any of it. But I had a manager early on who pushed me to submit things to the Grammys or to the Recording Academy, and I didn't even want to do it. I was like, well, it's not important to me. It's not something I feel that, I am even at this point in my career qualified to even submit material. So, to get back even my first submission, 2 songs in Song of the Year, and I think there was a couple in Pop Solo Performance that year, I was blown away. And then the more I learned about it, and then the more people I started meeting, it's really a community. I call them my Grammy family. It's really a community of, a lot of like-minded independent artists, just really wanting to make good music and collaborate and connections and networking. And it's really, really a fun time. I've been several times now, actually gone to the Grammys, and it's just an extraordinary experience, to meet new people and to meet other individuals who are just focused on, really putting out good music,
Mm-hmm.
and really, being there for each other. So it's I can say, I'm thrilled to even be on the ballot. Nomination would be nice, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
thrilled to even have gone. Because most people don't even get on the ballot or can't even say, I've been on the ballot 5 years in a row or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
in my category, especially because I tend to fall in that top realm, to be sitting there potentially on the same piece of paper as, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Pink, Kesha, big names that you're just looking at the list going, oh my God.
I can only imagine. Now, you're also an active voting member of the Recording Academy.
Yes, I am.
That is awesome. I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to go to the
Do you wanna
Grammys.
be?
I
You
want to
wanna
be.
be?
I want to be. I want to go to the
You can
Grammys.
be.
No, well, how do I do that?
Well, they have requirements that, you just have to submit once you meet the requirements. I think, it's easy if you go out, they have a webpage that lists their requirements.
Okay.
I think it's GrammySomething.com, GrammyPro.com, or GrammyAwards.com. But it's, you have to have a certain amount of releases.
Yeah, I couldn't then because I don't sing.
You couldn't. Well, I mean, there's because record labels there's other requirements for record labels. There's requirements for media and things like that. So
well, I'll check it out. Definitely, I'll check it out. Now,
yeah, check it out.
And I loved that you shared getting ready for the Grammys this year on your Twitter account. It was so fun to watch. You getting all glammed up.
Imagine me getting all glammed up. Yeah, I know.
Oh.
I know. I had a lot of people that were like, "Well, take like a before and after picture." I'm like, "Oh no, you don't want to see the before picture."
You looked amazing. And oh my God,
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I would love to be there. That would be my ultimate dream. And especially, and I'm in love with Bruno Mars. So this Grammy, I would have been in heaven. Okay. So now let's talk about your latest releases. Um, Before, actually, you know what? Before we talk about your latest, I just want to touch on this because we talked about this before the interview, and I think it's very important, and I talk about it a lot. Now, you are not signed to a label. Is that correct,
No,
Nikki? And
no,
there is
I'm
a
not.
reason why you are not, and why you want to be independent, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I thought, and there are a lot of people that I know that really want a label signing. It's and I thought at one point in time that's what I wanted as well. But as I kind of maneuvered through this musical landscape over the past couple of years, and seeing, you know, really what the labels are, what they're putting out and who they're targeting and those types of things. No, I'm not interested in being signed by a label. I potentially might consider an independent label, but not one of the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had a big Grammy producer. I had breakfast with him on this past Grammy weekend, and he asked me, he said, well, if Sony Music came tomorrow and offered you a deal, what would you do? I'd be like, bye, see you later. And he was laughing because he's like, you're one in the few. And I said, well, one, I don't want them telling me what I can and cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's generally what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So from a, writing and musical control perspective, I could pretty much, say that would be gone out the window. Two, they take so much nowadays because, it does cost a lot of money for promotion and things like that, and they take that all off the top.
Mm-hmm.
And in a world where CD sales are dropping and everything's going more towards streaming and digital downloads, it's really, really hard to make money as it is. And when you have a record label that's going to be potentially taking 50 to 75% of that income right off the top, it's, to me, it's just not worth it when I can do the same thing and release on my own through companies like CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, and keep everything myself, or at least, own the rights to all of my music, because that's the other thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
They generally tend to take that away. What benefit to me do they offer? The only thing potentially I could see is nowadays it is very, very hard to get what I would call mainstream radio play.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say mainstream radio play, I'm talking like Sirius XM, so satellite, or any of the major FM stations. It's very hard to get that from an independent artist perspective, but it's been done.
Mm-hmm.
So, never say never, right?
Chance the Rapper won a Grammy. He's independent.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And, so for me, it's not the path that I want to take. I know that there are some people out there that still want to go that route, but it's not having a major label deal at this point where I am in my career.
Yeah.
I don't need them.
Well, and
I can do it on my own.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked too about, it's shifting. The industry's shifting, and there's more independent labels, and there's more independent radio stations, and it's.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're craving variety, because the major labels and mainstream radio are putting out songs by people that sound the same. And nothing against the artists, because they're very, very talented, but they're being told what to do, I think, and who to target.
Well, right.
And they all sound the same, and we need variety.
Well, yes. I mean, and you're exactly right. Just to elaborate on that real quick, that is exactly correct. And I have actually said and I've been saying this for the past, 4 years, the record labels are missing the mark because they're specifically targeting one demographic. And if
Mm-hmm.
I look, even if I look at, because I'm a Spotify, verified artist, so I get reports on my streams. And if I look at all my streams, I hit every single age demographic from 12 to 65. But the record labels only target the 15 to 25 range.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even targeting anybody over 25. In my opinion, they're missing a huge, huge market because you know who has the money to actually buy CDs, go to concerts, who is probably going to buy a physical CD or vinyl more than download are those 25 plus group.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I mean, I've said that for a very, very long time, and I think it's starting to tip.
Mm-hmm.
And it is cookie cutter, because I even say this when I listen to stuff. I'm like, oh, that's so and so, and then I, Shazam it, and it's somebody else. I'm like, okay, well, they sound exactly like the other person that I just listened to.
You know how many times I've done that?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like, oh yeah, this is so and so. Oh wow, okay, no, it's not.
yeah, it sounded like this one. All right. Yeah, I know. I was in radio for 18 years, and I mean, that was what we had to do. We had to play all the mainstream artists over and over and over and over again. And I also did some of the music, like, put it into the system or whatever. And I'd have label executives come up to me and they'd hand me independent CDs, and I'd look at them and be like, I wish. I can't put them on. They're not going to let me. And I am so glad doing this show that I get to now put that music on and I get to listen to it and I get to share it because I couldn't for 18 years. So it is definitely shifting, and I am so, so happy because, like you say, you Shazam somebody on the radio and you think it's this person, and no, it's that person. We need variety, and I'm so glad that it's slowly starting to change. Now, before we get to your songs, again, just because of everything that you said, I always ask everybody that comes on my show if they had any advice to give any new artist, what would it be? And I think you would be perfect to give a lot of advice because of everything that you do. So what kind of advice do you think you'd give, Nicki?
um, well, a couple of things. I mean, one, learn how to write your own songs, or at least contribute to writing. Because I've found that being able to write and specifically collaborate with other people, because it is really hard to actually collaborate from a writing perspective because you have to be, willing and open to others, ideas and suggestions, not just always your own.
Mm-hmm.
Because that opens a lot of doors. There's a lot of opportunity for writing because there are a lot of artists that do not write their own material. So, potentially even if the labels are going to stick with the cookie cutter mold, then, learn how to write cookie cutter songs because, then other artists are singing your songs and your names getting out there, from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
That would be one piece of advice. Another piece of advice is, don't always think that the label is the answer. I know that there are a lot of young artists out there or young musicians who, dream of hitting the big time and things like that. But, it does take a lot of hard work, and it also does, unfortunately, even take a lot of money, even with a label. And if you're going to put that much into it, why would you want to try and do it on your own?
Mm-hmm.
And, maintain control and ownership of, everything and try it your own first rather than ultimately just signing everything away to a label. And sometimes, too, even signing with a label, you still, it still doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So labels aren't always the answer. And I do think that there's getting ready to be a pandemonium shift. I think that there's going to be, a lot more independent, what I would call independent artists coming to the forefront just because everybody is sick of the cookie cutter. So,
Mm-hmm.
third piece of advice and final piece of advice would be, be unique, be different, hone your craft, and don't follow the cookie cutter because, at some point in time, the cookie cutter gets old and the cookie cutter gets boring, and people want to hear new. They want to hear something exciting and something that's different.
Yeah,
Because that's what makes them feel something.
exactly. That is great advice. I'm going to have you on every week to say that. No, I'm joking. That is great
Okay,
advice.
that'll work.
Now, let's talk about your songs. I love that your songs have messages. I mean, everybody that writes songs have messages. Yours kind of like pinpoints what's going on in the world right now, especially your latest single. But first, we're going to talk about Captain America, which is one of the songs that's going to be up on my website. Talk about Captain America.
Yeah, so Captain America. So Captain America was on this past Grammy ballot. So yay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I tend not to be real public in my political affiliations and things like that, but yeah, my producer and I were talking about stuff, and I am a big Marvel Comics fan, and I'm very active on Twitter, and I follow Chris Evans, the actor who plays Captain America. And, I was just thinking about what was going on in the world today, and specifically in the U.S. with our challenging political landscape. Yeah, I'm trying to be politically correct now.
Oh, I'll say it. Trump's an idiot. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, with our, Trump. But I was looking at some of the things that Chris Evans was tweeting about, and he does not care for President Trump. And I was like, I let me write a superhero song, but I didn't want to do like a love song. And I was like, oh, Captain America, cool. Okay, let me see how I can mess with this. And after looking at what he was saying and after thinking about everything that was going on, and it was right around the time when some of this stuff was going on in like Charlottesville and things like that, I was like, you know what? The song was written it was written in like 10 minutes. And then, I laid down rough melody and handed it over to my producer, and he was like, holy cow. He's like, what the heck? Where did you come up with this? And I'm like, I don't know, Twitter and Trump, what are you going to do?
Gives you lots of good writing material.
Yeah, so we ran with it, and yeah, it's almost got like 1 million streams on SoundCloud. It's really, it's one of my favorite songs that I've done.
Well, it's a great song, but I am going to tell you, Heartbeat is my favorite song. Heartbeat is your latest single.
Awesome.
Yes, it is your latest single. Once again, talking about the political arena a bit. Talk about Heartbeat.
Yeah, so, I really went full-fledged political in this one, I think. But, it's more than just even, some of the stuff that our commander-in-chief happens to spew out of his mouth and what he tweets and things like that. It's even like a lot of, I've started to think about the song really represents just, what next, and just the feeling of despair and just the feeling of, oh my God, what is he going to say today? But even the landscape around all of the sexual, harassment allegations and the sexual misconduct allegations that's coming out, mainly in Hollywood, and, some of it starting to come out now in the music industry, and then things, on TV and stuff like that. So it's really about, you're drowning almost in this world of despair, but it also has an uplifting message in the chorus, and encouraging people, we're going to make this right again. it's this really stinks right now, and you feel like the weight is on your shoulders, but we can continue to fight. We're going to make it right, and we'll get through it. So that's really what that particular song is about. And I'm glad you like it, because it's kind of like one of those really weird songs that most radio stations right now are like going, yeah, well, it's really cool song, but we don't know where this one goes.
It goes on the like number one. It's on my playlist. I love the song. I love the sound of it. I love the message. And even though, like you say, it is about despair and stuff, it is about, we can fight. We can, get through this together. And I love it. And I just love it. I can't talk enough about it. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Nicki. Now, we can purchase your music. You've mentioned like CD Baby, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, basically wherever you can purchase, download music. Also, your website, which is nickikris.com, that's going to be up on my website. So people can just click on it, go over to your website, find out all kinds of stuff about you, and listen to more of your music, which I encourage everybody to do because I love all of your songs. And thank you so much this has been a great conversation. I could talk to you forever. Thank you so much for coming on. I totally appreciate it. And your advice and everything that you said is priceless. And I love interviews where people actually talk about truths. So thank you so much for talking about your truths about labels and cookie cutters and Trump.
Well, no, you're welcome. And thank you again for having me on. I mean, I really appreciate it. And it's people like you that really touches my heart, in that you want to help the independent artists, and you want to help promote our music. And honestly, without you, I would be nowhere. So I really appreciate the conversation and the support, and you can have me on whenever you need me. I'd be more than happy to come back.
Oh, anytime, Nicki, anytime. And when you finally win that Grammy, please come back.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to win it.
With me. There you go.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll come with you. Yeah, I'll be there. All right, well, thank you. And you have a great day, and I wish you the best success in everything that you do.
Thank you so much. You too.
And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic Show. Keep checking my website because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.